that Chelsea have no plans to go back to Thomas Tuchel, Jose Mourinho, or Antonio Conte. So any Chelsea fans holding out hope for that to happen, it's not going to happen. They will not be going back in for any of those past managers who probably have the best CVs, well, barring Ancelotti, out there. CB's with us. CB, bro, what's going through your mind right now?
Done an emergency call in. I'm using my phone. I left my webcam. I put my holiday on pause. I am absolutely seething. Let me find somewhere to sit this down. I am absolutely seething. I've never done a stream on my phone, so I don't know how to really. Anyway, I'll just hold it up. First and foremost, I don't think anything changes. The issues once again just shows the incompetence of the directors. The fact that they've sacked Poch after sacking Potter, after sacking Tuchel, after a certain while, the last two coaches were their hires. So the people that you guys are bringing in, you guys are falling out with. I'm looking at that and I'm saying, okay, now at what point do we hold you guys accountable as the directors and decision makers at the club? Surely, because now do we as a fan base trust you for the next manager hire? If for those of you who wanted Poch gone, they brought in Poch, do you trust them to bring the next man? Or it doesn't really make sense to me. And then I look at the situation in terms of Pochettino. They said it was mutual consent. They fell out over signings and having a say in signings. What is happening is what I've been telling you guys from the very beginning, that Poch was a yes man. And after a while, we realized, okay, my fate is looking bad here. Let me put my foot down and try and make change. As a fan base, we've all been pushing the hashtag change the model as Chelsea fans. This just all but confirms that the model isn't changing. And they're really hell-bent on sticking to this form of football, this form of recruitment with the football team. And I'm at a point now where I'm feeling like I'm going to have to do a Donald Trump and do an MCGA, make Chelsea great again, go to games with a red hat. Because the way things are looking is grim. I look at the managers that were being linked to in this Matt Law article. A Stuttgart manager, Michel. Ipswich manager, McKenna. Leicester City manager. There was already one Enzo at the club. Do we need two? A Leicester City manager. And then the fourth one, I can't even think off the top of my head. Yes, thank you. I can't even think off the top of my head. It's gone to the point where I'm looking at that. Them four names, they have no UCL knockout ties wins combined. 0. This is the level of people we're hiring. When are people going to realize the standard is in the sewers? And they're doing this because they're so hell-bent on their model. I didn't even see the Thomas Tuchel brief because I was saying, I saw Pletigo release something about Thomas Tuchel. And I said, okay, if it's Tuchel, I will take it. If it's Ancelotti and Alonso, these type of managers of that ilk that will generally raise the level of these players, I will take it. Because the truth is, the squad's still not good enough. We still need a goalkeeper. We still need a left back. We still need 2 centre backs. We need a DM. We need a Gallagher replacement. Ideally, a destroyer in midfield, a ground beater. We still need a winger. And we still need a striker. So I'm looking at that like we need a completely new team. First and foremost, a whole spine. We spent $1 billion with no spine. A lot of these players, their stocks have dropped. These are all issues that the directors have caused. The stocks of these players have dropped. The money that we've spent into the team clearly hasn't been invested correctly because we don't have a spine. We don't have a number one goalkeeper, a number one centre half, a main man in the middle that's really dictating stuff, or a striker. So I look at that with $1 billion spent. You've hired 2 managers, which it hasn't worked out with. That's once again, I'm holding you accountable for. So now I'm going to have to trust you to bring in the next man and spend a bunch of money this summer window. Based on what evidence? The sample size shows that you guys have been failures and incompetent.
I totally get that. I want to also point out as well what Matt Law has also said. The next manager of Chelsea will be under pressure to deliver Champions League football and compete for trophies. And that's why I asked a question maybe 20 minutes ago on the show. If they're going for a young and inexperienced manager with a young and inexperienced squad, with a fan base where at least 50% of the fan base doesn't have patience, with a board that have proven they don't have patience, I don't see how that works. I don't see how, when you add all those things together, you progress. I don't know how you see that, David, knowing that the new McKenna's coming in as an example, and he's got to get Champions League finishing the Champions League places and win trophies with this squad and with his lack of experience. Does this make sense in your opinion, David?
Not really, but at the same time, the squad should be better this season than it was last season. Because last season, none of them had any Prem experience. Now all of them have a season of Prem experience. So they should have less up and downs, but it's still hard to say, well, you should now you've had your season, now do this. That's really hard to do on a still very young squad.
And do you know why they're saying Champions League? Because I think this went against Poch as well. I think this went against Poch. That seeing how the league finished and seeing how Villa basically didn't turn up for the last 6 weeks of the season, if he just made this changes like 5 games sooner or something like that, he had a real shot of possibly finishing fourth.
Have you guys thought about this? The pressure that they're putting on your manager, your next manager, to get Champions League football and to compete for trophies. I also genuinely believe it's their financial issues. Now, I know obviously Andrew and other Chelsea fans have argued about these financial issues a lot over the last year or so, but I think they realize that, we can't keep selling assets. We actually have to be good on the football pitch. So this is what I mean. They're desperate now. They're like, crap, we need to get into these positions so that financially we don't have to be selling off things. So financially, you guys can be better.
But let's face it, right? Billionaires did billionaires because they don't really like to spend money, right? Let's face it, right? They want this club to start making their money, so when they do leave, they have something to make of it. They have to make this club successful because they will sell it. We know every Chelsea fan knows they will sell it in when that contract's up for 10 years and stuff like that. They will sell it. They need something to sell. But you're right. But okay, this is my thing to the board then. You're putting this pressure on the manager. Then I don't care what the age of the player is. I want them to be quality. I want them to be quality and ready to go into the first team from day one. So none of this, like last time, of 3 months waiting to sign Caicedo. You sign him right away. With Osimhen, if you want Osimhen, you sign him right away. You don't wait 3 months. You sign these players ready to go for the new manager, no matter what tournament they're in. Everything's ready to go. No excuse now. That's why all the pressure is on this board and on directors right now. If no Chelsea fan is putting pressure on them, or I don't know what they're expecting. Okay, so they need to get this right. But it doesn't make sense then if you're going to hire McKenna or Maresca, why you would say to them get Champions League football when they have never even played in Europe. They've been in a championship. So it doesn't make any sense you've hired them at all.
And this is why, when you're objective, and I get that some Chelsea fans are emotional because it's your club and it's different. When you're objective, I see the positives through getting rid of Poch. Not going to deny them. There are some that exist. David's explained some as well. But when I'm weighing everything up, and I also want to put this out there, a lot of Chelsea fans earlier on in our comment section mentioned this. This has also now just been revealed that Paul Winstanley and Lawrence Stewart will lead the process to appoint Poch's successor and report back to the controlling owners, as you will know. The challenge I would have to this as a Chelsea fan is, well, you've hired the last 2 managers. It's not worked through a combination of them not being good enough. Poch's situation, clearly the communication hasn't been right, that he wants to be a manager a year in rather than a head coach. The people that have made the mistakes, you're now, again, I can only go back to what I've experienced and seen at other clubs. My biggest issue not my biggest issue. Let me rephrase this. One of the elements that really frustrated me about the Glazers is they kept on letting Ed Woodward pick managers after he fouled and he fouled and he fouled. And if I put KJ in charge of recruiting me editors, and every editor he recruits for me does a terrible job, when it comes to maybe the 3rd time we need a new recruitment manager, a new editor, I am not letting KJ do it. I'm not, because what's the likelihood that we're going to get another person who's, by the way, KJ's never messed up like that. This is very hypothetical.
I've given us many good editors. Thank you very much.
You have given some very good editors, to be honest with you. But the point is, when I read these things, Chelsea fans, don't forget about this in a few weeks. The people that appointed Poch are still in charge. You're looking at young and inexperienced manager with no Champions League experience whatsoever. But you're also going to demand that they qualify for the Champions League and win trophies. Now, I understand people will say we have to have standards. You also have to be goddamn realistic. You have to be realistic in this. I want to get another neutral view before I go to Alex. Samuel, what do you make of all this, bro?
I mean, I'm just as confused as Chelsea fans because I'm on the one half. What I said at the beginning of the season about Chelsea has actually come to fruition. I actually said that they're gonna sack Poch by the end of the season, and it actually happened. But now I'm in another confusion. It was like, wait, hold on. But what about the stability of the club? Why would you sack Poch? For me personally, now I do see both sides to it. But the one thing that I saw the writing of the wall, and Gal also said this as well. Me and Gal, one stream, we both said this. We said that the owners on the board have one idea, the manager has another idea, and the players have another idea. All three of them are not one mind. So when the owners want, at the beginning of the season, I remember there was a report that they were saying the owners want like under 25s only, or they're going to buy under 25s. And then Pochettino wanted experience. And then the players don't know what they're doing. You can already see that it was going to be messed up from the beginning. So fast forwarding onto now, it's kind of like, all right, they did have a run of games where they were playing okay from what David was saying and what Winter Soldier was saying. Or Andrew, sorry, I should be calling by your name, Andrew. But
Andrew,
but it's kind of like, okay, so these are the same guys that are recruiting the past two managers that you sacked. Do you have any trust in them?
I don't think they did Potter. They didn't do Potter.
They didn't do Potter, but
no, that was Todd Bowley. That was Bowley himself. But the problem is, Samuel, they vetted Poch for 2 months. This wasn't a week or a 2 week thing. And this is why I get no sympathy with Poch either, because he knew what was going in for. They both lied to each other, essentially, I think, in that interview. You know, they both said the same thing, and then Poch has started to turn during the season. But that I don't know. I think Alex agrees with me, probably David. Would have got rid of directors as well. They would have gone today as well for me. They would have gone today as well for me. They have not. I don't trust. That's for me. They're just scouts in a high performance job for me. These two. That's what
you know. It is
scouting. That's it.
I look at it as like, you see, my situation with Liverpool. Even though I did say from the statement before that I don't think we're going to be winning a league or Champions League in the next 3 years. The one thing about it is that I can trust my board though. Michael Edwards, I can sit back and have a track record that he's done quite well with signings and other things. But with Chelsea, I from the general consensus that I can see from you guys, you don't trust your board. So like for me going forward, it's kind of like, well, there's no signs of you actually changing and actually making things better. It's like it's just repeating the same mistakes.
They have to do the toughest and easiest job at the same time to get Chelsea fans on board. That's hire a manager who does his job properly. It's the hardest job in football probably to do. But they are just one decision away from getting everything off their back. That's what they are. They're just one decision away.
To me personally, the one thing that is good about this is I'd rather our club and owners be 100% wrong than 50-50. I'd rather they believe, if the whole thing is we want to be youth project, build on them, give them experience and so on and so forth, do it 100%. Don't go, we're going to make a squad of young players, but then get an older manager who wants older experienced players. Don't do that. I'd rather you go, do you know what? We're going to go 100% in with this, and we're going to get a young manager who's going to play these young players and then improve them over the time, then build it that way, then go 50-50.
Also, Terry, could you just bring up that quote again about the expectations that the owners have, which I thought was absolutely ridiculous? Yeah, like, this just shows me that I understand standards. You need to have standards, and Chelsea are a big club, but they're not looking at the realistic view of where Chelsea are at right now. It's just, you're putting so much pressure on the next manager to do something that other managers couldn't do.
But do you know what I'm thinking, Samuel? And I said it earlier. I'm thinking they thought that how this Premier League turned out, if Poch had made changes sooner, they had a real shot of finishing fourth. I think that's what they're thinking. And that's probably one of the things that went against him as well. That's what I'm thinking. Why, if it only took an inverted left back who he had these players predominantly to do that this season, it only took that to make us play well and get wins, then why wasn't it done sooner?
Yeah,
and look at the way Villa hasn't been performing for about 6 weeks in the league. They could have been dropping points.
If we look at this from a positive point of view from Clear Lake, let's say they've done the right thing here. You could also find that maybe the football decision makers at your club looked at it and thought, we were only I know Chelsea fans were like hearing this, but we were only really winning because the pressure was off and there was nothing to play for. And you know, I know that Ches sort of said, no, actually, we've been pretty good most of 2024. A lot of those draws you were having, like away at Sheffield United, none of that was good enough. And
10-man Burnley.
maybe there's an element in that where they went, you know what? That run was just because the pressure was off. We're removing you anyway. And if you decide to sack somebody in February, March, there is, again, if we're going to be positive about your owners here, you don't change your mind because of a month if you're genuinely convinced they've got to go. So I think you've got to look at it from both sides.